Fantastic. So now we are live. It's all taken a minute, but we should be good to go. Okay, so where the fuck are all my things? There we go. Instantly, this live stream probably demonetized now. Grand. Welcome everybody. Hopefully it just didn't catch me swearing there. That would be fantastic. So what we're going to be doing here today is we're going to be filling out some of the blockouts that we made like a month ago. It's been a while since we've been back into these levels themselves. But we made these blockouts, like this one I already made, and we made a lot of these rooms over here. And everywhere that we're going to need to like put enemies or any other obstacles or whatever, we're going to start doing that. And I'm not entirely sure. We might make a couple of blueprints. We might make a couple of like assets as well. Probably not art assets, but like code. I mean, a lot of this might be just done through animation, though I'm not entirely sure. There might also be a bit of lighting that we do. There's a lot that we can do. What we're going to do is I'm going to go through this one room at a time as a player would. So we start at this central location over here. And from there we go to this room, and then we get the choice, do we go left or right? Well, I already have both of these more or less set up. They're quite simple rooms. And then we go, let's get started with this room, right? This is going to be mostly just decorative stuff, which I'm working on getting myself some assets for that. But that's not what we're here to do today. So let's go into enemies here. And if I just say blueprint class in the enemies folder, that also gets me all of the gameplay effects and gameplay abilities. That's not ideal. Thank you for coming in to join. I do have a bottle of water right here, and I do plan to make it all the way through that during this stream. I've gotten in the habit of actually like staying hydrated while working. Sometimes that means that on days that I'm not working a lot, I don't stay hydrated. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But most days I'm working, so I think that's generally a good thing. Now, let's start off by just putting down a handful of enemies around here to make things a little bit more interesting. Should not be in the persistent world. This is the level 1-4 stair step. So let's move it over to that, which will also automatically set our current working level to that. So we can set this one over here, and then I have a bull on all my enemies here. Start active, because I think we might have done this on stream. We might have done this off stream at some point. We've got these spawners here, right? And initially these spawners like just spawned in new actors whenever it would spawn in a new wave. It spawns them in waves. Like you can see here, we've got waves, and then each wave has a number of enemies in it. And this used to be enemy classes, and it would just spawn them in a random location. I didn't really like that, so the way it works now is I just place in all of the actors beforehand, and then this spawner just simply activates them as they become relevant through these waves. So now they're actually like this. Consists of pointers to these enemies. But that means that when I put these enemies down, they should be deactivated, so they shouldn't have any AI running, they shouldn't have any collision, they shouldn't have anything going on at all, they shouldn't tick, all that kind of stuff. But I also have plenty of instances of where did I go? Let's see. It's that room over there, I think. Maybe it's this one, right? No, it's not. I'm getting lost in my own game. Oh, we're right over here. Like enemies over here, or as a matter of fact, actually, like the enemies over here, they all need to just exists when I enter the room. So I made a variable for that just on begin play checks, hey, should you be active, yes or no, and it sets all of the relevant things to being active. And by default, that is set to false, so we need to make sure we do that because I've confused myself quite a few times by that. Outside of revision control, I don't really care about any of that, to be honest with you. So let's just throw in a handful of these simple ghosts. They don't really do anything particularly much. So maybe, wait, are they under the level now? They are under the level now. Also, still love this function. The fact that you can just do that and it lines them up with the ground. I don't love the fact that this is all off axis. Hold on. Yeah, that's not helping. That's not helping at all. This will do. So we put 2 of those back there, 2 of them here, and then we'll also put in a shaman here in the middle, which will also set to starting as active. So we have a little bit of combat, not too much, but just something to make it a little bit more interesting to see what's going on here. And then I'm thinking we probably want to add in a little reward here, like a experience orb that we can throw in back here, and we can have some like iron bars that keep this thing hidden until we've defeated all these 5 enemies. That seems reasonable. It should only spawn in this thing once though, because otherwise it becomes probably a little bit too easy to farm. But let's say this is like 200 experience or something like that. Like quite a bit. These enemies, what do they drop when they die? Can I see that from here? XP on death is 20 for this guy and 10 for this guy. So 200 might be a bit much. Because at this point you would have 10, 20, 40, 60 experience total. So if this orb is 100, that would make this entire thing 160 experience. And this would be a one-time only thing. I think that makes the most sense to do it that way. Now, that also requires us to make something that... How are we going to do this? What we need is a object that can do something once all of these things have been killed. So am I going to make a generalized thing that just like holds a integer value that counts down so many times something has happened, and then I'll do something? Or will I do something specifically for keeping track of the enemies? I'm thinking what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the former. So what I'll do here is I'll make a... For now, I'll just throw it in here. I'll make a simple actor. And that actor will, for now, be something like blueprint. Event object counter. It's a bad name. But it'll do for now. Which will just be the parent here. And that thing will have a event dispatcher. Count down once. Hello there, welcome. New to game development, that's fine. Hopefully you can pick up a thing or two. We're all learning at all times, so that's entirely fine. So we can do countdown once, and we can assign an event to that. And that event will just keep track of our counter, which will just decrement our integer here. By default, let's just keep that at 0. Actually, by default, let's keep that at 1. And if we decrement that by 1 every single time, and then we check with a branching node if this is less than or equal to 0, at that point, we can just run a function. And we can overwrite that function in the child's blueprint of this one. So let's make that function. Do events. And we don't really need to put anything into this. We just need to say, hey, do events. If there's anything specifically that you're thinking, hey, this would be cool if you made a video on it, and I don't see it on your channel yet, please do feel free to recommend things. I do have quite a few things in the pipeline that I'm working on, individual videos, like longer form courses and that kind of stuff, but I'm always looking for more ideas. So if there's any specific ideas that would be helpful to anyone, please do request them. It'll probably be a while before you get it uploaded, disclaimer, because I work about a month to 2 months ahead. So whenever I record something like tomorrow, it'll probably be uploaded sometime in January. But still, hopefully some other people at least will be able to use those IDs. So now we have a event object counter, and I'll make a child blueprint class of that. Event object iron bars. And I think we can make it child actor here. And I think I have a iron bars. I had something that generated iron bars. I just forgot what it is. Did I remove that while cleaning up my blueprints? I might have. I do have my pillar. Iron bars. Bar. Jail. I think I might have removed that one. No, not gonna lie to you. Let's see. Level objects. Building tools. I've got the pillar right here. This is a ramp builder. This is curved stairs, which I'm still working on. Wall constructor. The wall mesh of spline. Block builder. Basic building tool. Archway builder. Yeah, I don't think I have that thing anymore, do I? Okay, that's fine. I probably have the static meshes for it still. Oh, hold on, no, I think I'm an idiot. I just used the pillar blueprint and I used different static meshes. So we have the pillar blueprint here, and in the child actor template we just look for iron bars base and iron bars. And now we probably also want to have a top segment to it. It doesn't look like this thing has a material anymore, which is a little bit worrying, but we can always just get a new Quixel material or make one of our own at some point. It doesn't really matter. So let's throw this thing into the world and see what it's like. We have the iron bars. It's way too fucking small for one. But we can increase this size. And I'm going to set this to unlit. so I can actually kind of see what I'm doing. Only kinda though. I probably just wanna add a second one of these right next to it. And then parenthesis. So now if I move this one, it just moves both, right? Yes. If we go back to lit mode, now we have a little experience orb behind some iron bar so that we can easily animate down. So let's animate this thing down, shall we? Looking at the front perspective, it's not exactly what I wanted. Let's look at the right perspective instead. These steps are 100 units each, right? So that's 50. These steps are 50 units each. That's hardly ideal. So that's 50, 100, 200, 300 units in total. Okay, so now that makes sense. So if I just move this thing 300 units down, we're fine. So override do events. And we simply add a timeline. Can we not add a timeline within a function? We cannot. Okay, I did not know that. Well, just make a custom event and call that then. Custom event, play timeline. That works for me. Play from start. Play timeline. Set local add local offset. Is that a add the data location to the component if it's an okay, but I don't think local location, local position. Maybe it is like that. That's fine then. Let's add a track here for a float value, and we'll say a key at 0, 0, and then we'll add a key at like 2 seconds. Let's make it take 2 seconds. Actually, let's not do it through a timeline. What we're going to do is we're going to make this a tiny cutscene, because I do want to also have the camera showing that this thing unlocks, right? So play sequence. There's a note for this. I suppose we better just make a variable. Play, no, unlock cutscene. Okay, I don't know what the data type is here. I think it's a level sequence. I mean, one way to figure it out, right? Level sequence is, okay, so it is level sequence. So we can just, when do event, we get that level sequence and we play. I haven't done this through Blueprint for a while. Hold on. Unreal play level sequence from Blueprint. Get sequence player, that's what we want. Get sequence. Get player? Nope. Probably just a wrong data type. Create level sequence player. Maybe we need that. First get a reference to your level sequence in the blueprint, then drag from that variable get sequence player. Drag from that, you'll find the... Yeah, well that's only the level... Oh, maybe we can only do that through the level blueprint? That would be weird. Level sequence... Can we just get a level sequence player? Would be really, really cool if we could just do that. Play. I'm gonna try a thing. This might be very dumb. There's not might be. This is a very dumb way to do this. But can I just like get that node like that and then make it automatically? No, I cannot. Not compatible with. Okay, level sequence object reference is not compatible with movie scene sequence thing. Okay, but the issue is that this is not gonna work, right? So if I compile this and I look over up against you, unlock cutscene, that's not gonna do anything because that's not how that works. So this does need to be a level sequence. Create level sequence player, and from there we can maybe... Okay, that is... annoying. But that makes sense, right? Because we have this settings option, so if we want to like make that, we can say whatever the settings for that is. So that makes a certain amount of sense, I suppose. But what if we change this from level sequence to level sequence actor? Because that is probably what we want. This probably can go directly into there with sequence player. There we go. That makes a lot more sense. So that'll play our level sequence whenever we run this function now. And this doesn't necessarily need to be the same actor. This could just be... Probably should be just a pillar builder, to be honest with you. Yeah, let's delete this. And just add a like pillar. Just copy the location, paste the location, copy the rotation. I wish you could do this with the transform as a whole very easily. There might be a way to do that. Can I just right click the transform? Oh my god, can you just right click the transform and copy it over as one big thing? I think you can. Yep, you can. Okay, that's actually quite nice to know. I've been doing it the difficult way the entire time. And then these we can say bars, base, bars, middle. We want to have a top segment. And then this pillar, we move it over until it doesn't overlap anymore with the other one, which is apparently right now. That makes sense. Event object iron bars is what we want to attach this to. So we go to attach to event object iron bars, and now it's parented to that, which we can test just like that. Fantastic. Okay, then we want to create a level sequence here, which we're going to do in the levels. World 1 purple, level sequences, and that's in cinematics. Level sequence, this is 1-4, open bars, throw that one in there. Don't want to autoplay this, but let's open up the level sequencer, and we can add this actor in here. Can we just drag and drop? We can just drag and drop. That's fantastic. And we're going to animate your transform. And let's say this takes a second and a half. Does that seem reasonable? A second and a half? I'm going to go with a second and a half for now. And with that, a second and a half, this thing moves all the way down out of the way. Yeah, let's move it all the way down out of the way. Maybe. Or maybe we do it like this. I kind of like this better, not gonna lie. Let's just keep it like this. Definitely gonna need a little bit more light on that, because that is not visible at all. Yeah, you can't see that at all. But that's a lighting thing. We'll get to lighting in a moment. For now, let's just add a cinema camera here, which we can pilot. Where's the pilot button? I'm an idiot. Where's the thing that I'm looking at? Okay, there we go. Definitely want to have this thing have a bit more field of view. Where is your field of view? Focal length 25mm, please. It's a bit better. Can start you off over here. Animate your transform. And move you like a little bit in this direction. Just a bit. That's really all it needs to do. And we stick around for like another half a second. And that'll be the end of our miniature cutscene here. And it's as easy as that sometimes. So the only thing we need to keep in mind is that this thing, I always forget how this works. Edit section, let's see, when finished, keep state. That's how that works, right? So now when the thing finishes, it's not going to snap back to what it was like before. I'm not 100% sure if we should blend into this cutscene or not. I'm going to go ahead and say no for now. And just have it cut back and forth. That being said, though, no, that seems good. Let's close the sequencer for now. Oh, and also stop piloting this thing. That might be nice. So the cutscene to play will be this cutscene, and we'll have 5 things to count down. And then I think in here we have an option to disable movement inputs. Disable all look at inputs from player. I just want to disable the player input entirely, because right now I think I can still like attack and stuff. But we'll have to test that out. First, let's open the level blueprint and actually assign these enemies when they die to this thing. So we'll open up the sub-level blueprint for 1-4, and there we'll have a reference to this. You know what? I probably didn't need to make an event dispatcher for this, because we're gonna do this the other way around. I just realized. Yeah, we're gonna do this the other way around, because what we're gonna do is I have this event right here, and we're just gonna run this event when another thing happens on another actor. So we don't need to make this an event dispatcher. So let's just get rid of that altogether, because there's no use in having that. So countdown once is an event that we're going to drive through other actors, their delegates. At the moment, I'm working on not falling off my chair. At the moment, I'm working on this level here, just spicing it up a little bit, adding a couple of enemies here, and once you've defeated all those enemies, this little bar will go down and you'll be able to access the experience here. And after that, we're going to add some lighting to this area as well, because this is very dark. So okay, let's take the references to these enemies, and we should be able to create 5 references from that. Oh, the game in general is a little bit more complex, of course, too. Can we just like 1 second make array? I would very much like to can we just like import these references as a actor array or something like that? Because that would save me a lot of messing about. I don't think we can easily. Well, that's fine then. It's a action RPG that we're making here. So once we have this in place, I'll need to test this out anyway. So you'll see a little bit of gameplay, I suppose. Assign on destroyed. And I suppose what we'll just do is we'll just copy this over, because it's just a generic thing that all actors have anyway. So we can just copy that over a few times. And if any of these get destroyed, that'll work fantastically fine. And we can just hook this up, right? We can. Okay, fantastic. So we connect these up. This is the reason I don't particularly love working with Blueprint all the time, because it's slow as hell to connect all of these things up and do this all with the mouse and dragging things around, and just not particularly necessarily a lot of fun. But this should work, so let's go test this out. Let's save everything before we run this, and I have no idea in what level I'm going to spawn when I load in. So that's exciting. My PC is not having it today. Okay, there we are. Is the audio too loud for that? It doesn't look like it is. I am printing out my strength stat every frame though, so maybe didn't necessarily mean for that to happen, but we'll fix that in a moment. I was testing out some things with saving and loading save data for like the actual stats, because that's been an issue for like a month now, where if you save your game and you load back into it, it doesn't update your HP and your mana and stuff like that until you level it up again. Also, you could level up beyond the maximum level and that would crash the game, which also not ideal. I can also not make this jump, apparently, which is... That's one way around doing that, but that's definitely something that we do need to, at some point, get fixed up. The platform isn't textures and world space? What do you mean? Like... this texture, because that's just temporary. Anyway, so let's absolutely murder the living hell out of everything that is around here. And try not to die trying. Oh, that also needs to play a hit sound animation, or a swing sound animation, rather. Now the first scene saw bands in the side of the footpath. I'll go back to that in a second to check that out. Oh, I think I know what you mean. Yeah, no, that is true. Like this this floor texture is in world space, but it only projects from upward, which in some cases is a bit of an issue. Okay, so that is without a doubt way too fast, and also the experience orb is just straight up not there, and these two things aren't connecting, but the functionality works, which is the important bit here. So I'm guessing that I put this thing in the persistent level? No. Huh. Okay, that's kind of weird. This thing needs to just be nudged over ever so slightly, so they'll line up a little bit more. That'll do. And then this cutscene needs to be much slower, and also there's a little... yeah, there's something weird about that. So we want to have that and then play this thing at like half speed. So just checking whether or not we're on the same page on what you meant. Also checking whether or not those changes save now. They did. Good. Because you might have spotted something that I am not yet aware of, in which case I will add it to my to-do list. But you probably mean not here. Over here, this, right? The fact that it stretches out here, that. Because that is true, but there needs to be... yeah. I'm either going to fix that by projecting it in 3 planes, but I kind of wanted to just project from the top because that saves me a bit of headache in some cases. And this shouldn't ever need to be projected from the sides. So what is probably going to end up happening is what I do up here. I'm just going to copy over like this ring. Matter of fact, let's just do that right now. Seems like a good idea. So we can just copy this over and pull that down to not that far. To just prevent people from seeing that. And we'll probably make this a different material. Like, do we have like iron or something like that? Silver. Just any metal. Brushed steel. As a temporary material that works. It's a little too reflective though. Also, pull this up just a little bit more still. Definitely not chrome. Maybe copper? Maybe copper is kind of cool. Yeah, there's a billion of these tiny little things that I'm like, yeah, I know. I need to fix that. So having them called out every now and then is a good thing because I get my ass around to actually fixing it. That said, it does need to be in the proper streaming level. So before I forget to do that, let's move it over to this one. And then our current level context should go back to the level that we were working on before. How about concrete? Do I have a concrete? Maybe that works. Yeah, that kind of works actually. That's a pretty good idea. I like that. In-game view. It matches well with the fact that everything around here is like rock and these tiles are stone. Maybe I'll want to make this a little bit darker to blend in ever so slightly. But by and large, I think that looks pretty good. And then up here we have like the gold version of it because gold is good. It's pretty. It's expensive. We were doing a thing. Oh, right. I'm going to test how that cutscene looks at half speed. And how it feels in gameplay. I probably should just add a save point in there as well. If I'm going to... What is the nearest save point that I have at the moment to that? It's a very good question as well. We go through here. And then... Yeah, I have a save point pretty near to that, so I probably should just save there. You know what? I don't really care. Let's just throw down a save point. I can always just remove that later. Except that I need to make sure that that's not in there. What? Oh, I probably called it checkpoint, didn't I? Yeah, I did. I just need to make sure that I don't save there, remove the save point and try to load a save, because that's going to not be good at all. But we can throw in a save point right there. Yeah, I think I still didn't remove the print string, for fuck's sake. But I like this. I do like this. It's kind of cool. And I can probably just easily make duplicates, and I'm guessing since it's a included material, it probably just has some brightness values. Worst case scenario, I just go into the texture settings and decrease the luma. Which will work perfectly fine as well. So that should be not too difficult. I forgot to enable ledge grabbing on these things again. They're just a little too high. Luckily the homing attack is very cheesable. And you can just ignore all those enemies. Those enemies need to be more aggressive. Like, they need to be an issue. Because at the moment you can just ignore them, which is not ideal. So let's go up here and save real quick, so I have easy access to this map. I could just test this out in this level itself, actually, which that would probably be better. So how does this look now? It looks a lot better. And then we try not to die. Again, I'm over leveled because I'm a developer, of course I'm over leveled. Like max level strength, just to make this a little bit more bearable. That said, it is still tedious after like 100 hours. Especially when you just simply almost cannot die. That's a lot better, isn't it? Yeah, I like that. And then we can pick up that experience. I mean, I've already got 21,000 experience because I'm a cheater. But ignoring that, we just got a whole lot of experience. Okay, that's kind of cool. I like that. Now, we also need to make sure you can only pick that up once. So, pretty much, I just gave myself a shit ton of experience to level myself to an insane degree. So I have maximum strength, and well, now that I have 21,000 experience anyway, might as well just increase my other stats a little bit as well. And then we save the game, and then I have even more stats. It's real cool. So yeah, we need to make at least this experience orb. Okay, that's already a lot better. Lumen kind of works in weird ways sometimes. We need to make that experience orb disappear if we've already picked it up once. So let's go back into our levels folder, and in here we'll make a new folder and we'll call that event flags, which I also have in my tutorial somewhere. Event has happened is what it's called here. We'll just copy one of those over, that's fine. We can, right? Why are you not copying over? Did I not Control C properly? I can always just make one like this, that's fine. Event has happened, data asset, and this will be 1-4 XP picked up. For now, let's just add begin play. We can simply a site undestroyed. Now we'll do this the other way around, actually. Get game instance. I've got a function in the game instance to keep track of all the things that have or have not happened. I've got a very simple, pretty hard-coded system for it. Cast to BP Action RPG game instance, and there we can get the has event happened. And we can check for 1-4 if I thing picked up. If it has happened, we will just destroy this actor. And if it hasn't happened, we'll set up the binding to add it to the list of events that have happened. So with that we can say set events happened (1-4) experience picked up, and we'll set that to having happened. Yeah, that works. So now all we need to do is, and I forget this regularly, so let's not forget it this time. We need to go into the Action RPG game instance, and in this events array that I have, I need to actually add this event as well. It's kind of annoying that I have to do that manually. I don't know of a way that I could do this reasonably automatically and still have it work. So this will be fine. So now if we pick this up and we leave the room and we come back, this orb won't be there. The only question that I'm thinking about at this point is, yeah, that's using data assets. Reason I'm using a data asset with just one bool in it is because the data asset will be persistent between loading levels. And that's just easier on me. And honestly, actually I don't need to do that now that I think about it, because I never change persistent levels in this entire game. Like, every level gets streamed in anyway, so I don't really need to use data assets now that I think about it. Well, it's still quite nice to have a data asset with a name attached to it, that I can like search in that drop-down menu rather than just having a bool with an index, which can be really confusing. But aside from that, in theory, if I were to load into a different persistent level, the data assets do keep their information until the game actually like has to restart. So that would be a nice way of going about doing that. I think I made up this system before I decided everything was going to be a streaming level, because it was just easier that way to keep data persistent for like the player and stuff. So now if we come back in here, we should see, yeah, no more orb, so that's good. So yes, do we want to have those like bars also lowered already if we've picked this thing up previously, or do we not? I'm thinking that it doesn't make sense that the bars will be back up as well, right? So we definitely want to have do we have a play from start or something? No, actually, I've got a better idea. We just only play... Where's the step thing? There we go. We just move all of this to being only if event has not happened. So we just move that to binding back there. And then I desperately am going to need to start adding some comments to that mess of a blueprint. It's actually not that bad, now that I'm looking at it. But we do want to, if we have picked it up, we want to get this... can we get unlock cutscene, and then we can... There's a note to set the player... to the end state. Get sequence player, and then set end. Set something with end time, go to end and stop. I think that's it. Yeah, load once taken makes a lot more sense. I agree. It would be really weird because otherwise we would also play that cutscene of that thing lowering itself and revealing nothing behind it, which would be very anticlimactic. So I do think that having that thing just already be lowered if the player's taken this thing once makes a lot more sense. Okay, that's one of them dead. Oh, the lightning still doesn't hit me. I've been avoiding that lightning for no reason. It literally just doesn't damage me. Okay. I'm probably not going to do anything about that right now, but I'm going to add that to my to-do list in a moment here once this last guy has died. So we have this thing opening up. It's really, really good. Then we pick up the experience orb. And also, I guess we might as well pick up these little experience orbs that these other guys dropped. These really should home in a little bit towards the player, because it's tedious to pick them up. We leave, we re-enter. The enemies do respawn, which is expected behavior. That's what I want. But this is already down, and the orb is gone. Okay, that's good. To-do logger. Let's make a task. Shaman attacks don't damage player. Fix that shit. That is under enemies. Yeah, that debug thing is really... I really should go about doing something about that, shouldn't I? Let's... to be fair, the fact that I'm streaming is probably doing more to hurt my performance than printing out that one string every frame, but I... Where did I put it again? There we go. I don't need that anymore. I'm done testing with that stuff anyway. Yeah, it might seem like magic, putting all this together, but like honestly, like yeah, this looks like a lot of work. Frankly, this is just very bad. The fact that I'm putting all these things in a row instead of doing it in a slightly more optimal way. It just you just start doing it. And you build, and you build, and you build, and you build, and eventually things start looking somewhat impressive. And with Blueprint specifically, things look so much more impressive, so much more quickly because of all the lines going everywhere. If you just go into like normal C++ code, things look a lot more... Well, if you're used to C++ code, that is, things look a lot less intimidating. Like I can go into my character here, and... like this is my entire character class, which yes also is a lot of code, but again this is a class that got built up with a lot of code that still needs to be removed. That was placeholder code, as you can see. This was built up over like 3 months of working on this bit by bit. I think this looks a lot less intimidating than a big blueprint personally, but that might also be because I prefer working in text code for the most part. Yeah, small steps. You don't need to make the you don't need to make like World of Warcraft a week after you started using Unreal or any game engine for that matter. This is quite a big project that I'm working on. And I can highly recommend do not do that. Don't do what I do. Do as I say, not as I do. Just try to like recreate some fun like mobile games at first or something like that, and then turn that back on real quick. And then maybe try to make a very small fun little arcade type game. Maybe join a game jam or two at some point once you feel more comfortable working under a tighter deadline, and slowly but surely you're going to pick up on things and things will start making a lot more sense at some point. That's what it was like for me, anyway. So, and that's kind of what I hear a lot of people saying. And work to your strengths, right? If you're not much of a programmer, make things that are mechanically simple but very pretty, or maybe have a very interesting and cool storytelling element to it. If you're not very good at art, make something like Undertale. I've been really into Undertale these past like 2 weeks again, because I want to do a lore video on it at some point. Undertale, like it has some really cool character sprites for the most part, but let's be honest, it doesn't look that good. It's a fantastic game, because it has very cool like game design and storytelling elements to it. I mean, I learned most of this by messing around too. Pretty much all of it. I learned a little from the C++ side by following an online course, and then I made a more compact version of that myself for other people. But for the most part, I just figure everything out by messing about and maybe curiosity. That's the most important thing about any creative endeavor, right? Is just being curious is such a valuable character trait for you to have. If you're curious, you'll be fine. If you're not very curious and eager for learning things, that is kind of where you get into problems. But specifically for this industry, because making games, I won't lie, making games is a lot of work. So you need to have that passion going in, otherwise it's just simply not going to be worth doing too much about it. And even if you do have a lot of passion, it's going to feel like it's not worth doing anything very often. Yeah, Unreal is a really robust engine to just play around with. Like compared to Unity, where you have to build a lot more yourself, which has its merits, obviously, because you're making all of your own tools. Unreal has a lot of like tools pre-built for you to just jump in and start messing about, which is why I like it. Yeah, there's a lot of work to do, and you're going to be very underpaid. So that's most people don't do this as a career for obvious reasons, because the pressure is fucking insane in this industry. So taking that pressure off and just doing it as a hobby for most people makes the most sense, and frankly, I don't blame them. I mean, strictly speaking, I am in that group. I would very much like to make a full career out of this, but like as an indie, which is even less likely, frankly. Okay, so we've added a little bit of basic lighting here. It's not great. There's a lot of like ugly. What I'm gonna say here sounds really stupid, but I wish there was a rectangle light here that was that would just like pretty much do this, right? Just light both sides. And you're gonna say, well, that would be a point light, but a point light would still be different because that's still emitting light from one point rather than two rectangles. I suppose it's not that big a deal. You can literally just make a blueprint with 2 of these in it and fix that issue. So I probably shouldn't be complaining. But I'll like to complain, okay? Just let me complain. I don't know why that just moved, why? Emission light. Yeah, that could probably work. I think if I wanted to do that, I probably would just make a blueprint. Matter of fact, let's just make that blueprint right now. Seems like something that's gonna come in handy. Blueprint class, just make an actor. Double-sided rect light. And just add 2 rectangular lights into it. Like we have a rect light that way. We copy it over. Just rotate this around, and then the only thing is that we have all of these light settings that I need to set for both of them in the construction script, which is less than ideal. Isn't this... it's probably not. I was going to say, is this just like a structure that, that I can... Maybe it is. Let's see. Settings? Nah. That would have been too nice, right? Emission light seems to be a little inconsistent with the way it renders things. I don't know why. Probably an optimization thing. If you're not close to it, it does it more approximate than normal lighting, from what I can tell with Lumen. But I'm not entirely sure on that. So we can just like set intensity, set barn door angle. I'll just promote all these to variables. Set barn door length. Set intensity. Attenuation radius, we also probably want to set. Is there anything else that we're really using? Oh yeah, the width and the height, of course. That's quite important. Set width. And set height. And the color, actually. We also want to set a color. Set light color. And we'll, for this one, I'll set it to a default value, and the rest I'll just, I'll probably add some default values to those as well. I'm not going to clean up this blueprint. If you're annoyed by that, I'm very sorry, but I don't care. I'm probably not even going to use this blueprint right away. I'm real with you. What is new value? Hold on. That's barn door. Oh no. Oh no. New value 2 is the barn door angle. New value 1 is barn door length. Intensity. New radius is fine. New value 0 is the source width. And then this has to be the length. Spaghetti. I do like spaghetti. Actually, no, I don't like spaghetti. I like pasta. But I think spaghetti is not great. I'll eat it. I'll happily eat it. But I prefer other pasta. So now, in theory, if we drag in this double-sided light, it should do exactly what I wanted it to do. So if I set the new intensity to like... Oh yeah, we figured this out a while ago, right? Construction scripts are kind of fucked with lighting for some reason. Yo, Trigwin, welcome. I do have a playtest link in the description. That's entirely right. It has. I think the last build is like a week or two old at this point, but it has, I think, all the recent bugs fixed. So pretty much everything up until what you see, what we're making here today, of course, hasn't been pushed yet, should be in it. Making a action RPG here. The construction scripts not running on the lights is kind of makes quite a waste of time. Oh wait, it only does that to one. Oh, it only does that to the one thing, doesn't it? So if I do set this to like a ridiculously high number, no, we just straight up doesn't do that. Ah, it's because the attenuation radius is also. So if we set that to 500, 5,000. That straight up just doesn't work with lights. Okay, forget that I ever wanted to make this blueprint. I just wanted to prove a point, and I got absolutely wrecked. So let's forget that ever happened. Let's go to the downstairs area here, because what I want to do here is, have you guys ever played Rayman 2? Because there's a part in Rayman 2 where you have like these electricity things that are going up and down that you have to platform like in between. You have to wait in order to walk under some of them, and then you have to jump over some of them. I kind of want to recreate a hallway with that general vibe to it. Most of the assets I model myself, which is to say everything 3D here I have modeled myself. I am getting to a point though where at least some of the assets that are in like final, like all of the bosses and such, I model for myself. I'm starting to get to a point where I'm every so often just going out like this asset I don't feel like doing it. Somebody else can do it while I continue working on this thing, and I just get a freelancer to make a model, a character, a weapon, that kind of stuff. Simple stuff. But everything else you see here, like if I just move through here, those characters, this character, my player character, these guys, these pillars, everything here, that's all been handmade by me. Which is a lot of work. Okay, so let's make those electricity things. Because that shouldn't be that difficult, at least not for now. So let's make the blueprint class, and what we'll do is we'll make an actor, and we'll call that BP electric bar. Seems like a good name. To static meshes. Static mesh 1 and static mesh 2. For now, both of those will just be simple spheres. Material sphere sounds good. Move that one over there. I will also add in a Niagara system. And here's where we get a little interesting as to what we're going to do, because I have a oh god, I have one of these, right? And I can just make a copy of that infinitely keeps going. So let's make that copy. Bolts in. Endless makes more sense. Infinite seems like it is infinite in length. So replace the spawn burst instantaneous, or at least disable it, and we'll change that to a spawn rate. And I think we just set that spawn rate to like 1. It should probably do what I wanted to do, maybe not. It's been a while since I've made this system. Okay, that's definitely not doing what I wanted to do. Okay. I mean, if you want to help with some models that that might be nice. I'm also quite particular with how I imagine things. It's kind of hard to give things away for other people to do, but it might be it might be nice to get a little bit of help every so often. But in general, I'm still getting used to giving out work to other people on my game. So how do I work with this again? Because let's just look through here. What do? We initialize particle, we spawn a beam, we set the beam width. Maybe just not spawning any enough particles. Oh yeah, that seems to be it. That seems to be the issue. We just needed to spawn in like 250 particles. Something like that. Why does it seem like it's bunching up in certain locations though? What's the theme? How do I want the textures to be? Like the general art style of the game is it's been changing a lot with adding more lighting, but the way I generally explain the art direction that I'm going for is imagine a late era PlayStation 2 game and now ignore how it actually looks and remember how you felt like it looked as a kid. So assuming you're between the ages of like 24 and 30, you would have experienced the PlayStation 2 era as a child. The way those games looked in your mind is kind of the vibe that I'm going for, but like in actuality, because now we can actually render stuff like that. So the vibe of a PS2 game, but with much more complex lighting and all that kind of stuff. Some kind of forces make... Oh, that makes sense. I might have a attraction force. No, I don't have any forces acting on this thing, actually. Matter of fact, I think I can just remove this altogether, and it shouldn't do anything. Yeah, so... I mean, I don't know what I thought was going to happen there. Update beam. I didn't expect that to happen when I turned off update beam, but I think I kind of like it. Huh. I think I kind of like it. If I turn down the jitter a little bit, because the jitter is a little too much, but if I go down to like 2, It's still punching up, don't get me wrong, but in this way I don't think I necessarily dislike it. I mean, half of art is just stumbling upon something and then justifying it afterwards, right? That's always been my take anyway. So yeah, I think it's the jitter position that is making these things bunch up. I think that is what is doing that. Thanks, Unreal, for crashing on me. I wasn't even working with my own code. It wasn't even me forgetting a fucking null pointer somewhere. Just Unreal deciding like, actually, I'm gonna just yeet out. I'm just gonna go away. You don't need me anymore. Yes, I do, Unreal. Yes, I do. At least I think we saved everything important before it crashed. That's another huge reason, by the way, why I don't like working with Blueprint. Because blueprints are assets in engine. And if the engine crashes while you're working on a blueprint, it doesn't save. While C++ code, of course, is a file in and of itself, which you added through the IDE that you're working with. So if you cause any crashes, you don't fuck yourself over too badly. Let's set this back to spawn rate and at 100. The jitter position, set that to like 1, 2. Why is it suddenly not jittering the same amount as before? That's really weird. Why? Count me confused. Unreal's drunk. That's kind of my experience with life. Unreal just says fuck you and just kind of goes with the flow. What if I move this up there? Okay, that doesn't solve that at all. So just make this big again? I mean, that does kind of fix it. You know what we'll do? Is I'll add a sprite renderer to see how the... Fuck me! Okay. Hold on a moment. Where does it initialize, like the... Where does it set the position of the particles? Not a game developer, but can't you make and import such animations from 3D software like... No. No, this is a particle system. That's done in engine. If you were to make this like hard coded in or hard baked in a 3D software, that would be... I mean, it's possible, but it would be a pain and it wouldn't look as good. So like animations for like characters and stuff like that, those you can do in other software. This kind of like special effects and that kind of stuff you really want to do in engine. Because that way they can also interact with the environment and that kind of stuff. Right now, I'm losing my mind at how I set up this emitter that I'm using, and I made like 3 months ago. That is what I'm doing right now. Okay, let's set this sprite size real quick to uniform 2 pixels big. Why is it spawning them in these like predetermined locations? Is what I want to know. Oh, it's the beam emitter, isn't it? Yeah, that's it. Okay. That's a start. Still don't understand why it bunches them up. It definitely should. If we set this to like 20. Use beam tangents, maybe. Okay, that's definitely not what I wanted to do. Spawn beam. There's nothing in there. Too much bloom. That's not what we're worrying about right now. You're right, but that's not what we're worrying about right now. Yeah, no, the bloom before was absolutely horrible. But this is what we're going for in the end. And you're right that this is overly bloomed, so we probably want to set this to like 0.2, maybe even 0.1. Hold on, that's the alpha. That's not what we want. We want to multiply linear color. And we want to make vector from floats. And at this point we might as well just purple, and then we set this to like 25. That's a little better. Still, it's bunching up here, and I don't quite understand why, and it's bothering me. So what we'll do instead is, instead of spawning these in a beam, I'm just going to spawn location. That's not in the emitter update, it should be in the particle spawn. Shape location, that's what it's called. I always forget. We'll just set that from sphere to a box, which will be size 200, 1 and 1. Is that gonna work? That doesn't seem to be working either. Yeah, now I'm trying to get back to the jittering lightning effect. The only issue is, like, if we just do this and we set the jittering to a lot higher, like 20 again, this is way too high, obviously. But it bunches up in a couple of spots, and I don't quite understand, like, set this to 10 or something like that. I don't quite understand why. What it should do is fill out this entire length with random spawning stuff. If we set this to be longer, it still bunches up in like the middle and then a little bit left and right of the middle and then up at the very end. That's the weird thing that I'm... Update beam. I mean... It's still bunching up. But it looks different. So if I like jitter down to 4... I don't like this bunching up thing. Obviously I do need to spawn in the beam, that makes sense. I do need to initialize the particles probably, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, I've got a different idea. We're going to disable this emitter for the time being, and we're just going to copy it over. No, we're not going to copy it over, we're going to make a new one. Add empty emitter. This is not a great way of going about doing it, the way I'm going to do it right now. I want to make that very clear. This is a very inefficient way of doing things, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to set a... no, that's horrible. No, don't do that. No, that's a bad idea. What I was going to do, I'll just show you anyway, is we have a spawn rate, and then we have like fix issues. Well, then fuck you. And then on emitter update, we... oh, hold on, that's in the wrong thing. Needs to be here. Spawn rate, and then in spawn we initialize particle. Am I going insane? And we give it a velocity, so we... add velocity, we can fix that, and I'll probably also fix that. Oh, emitter state, we needed to add that. I always forgot that. And we just give it a velocity of like 100 in the X direction. For now, we'll add the sprite renderer just to see what all is going on. And nothing is showing because our spawn rate is set to 0. That makes sense. Initialize particle. We set that to like size 50 or something. We're not moving. Ah, that's because we're not solving for a particle update. We need to solve forces and velocity. And now it's moving real quick. A little too quick, as a matter of fact. So let's go back to 100. 600. And then here, if we can say jitter position. And we make a what is it called again? Generate location event. We can then use that to make a thing, but this is not ideal. But I'll show you anyway. Properties, persistent particle ID need to be on, so it needs to be a CPU sim, which is like kind of the issue. We're going to ignore all the other things, and then we'll make another one of these, but we'll set this to a ribbon renderer. And actually, that's kind of already doing what I wanted to do, more or less. except not really. We'll get to that in a moment. Because what I wanted to do is I want this to receive an event handler. And it will be the location event from empty. So this one doesn't need to generate a location event anymore. Execution mode for every particle. Spawn number 1. And then this thing itself doesn't need to spawn in particles anymore. So this is definitely not what I imagined it would look like. I'm not gonna lie. But if we decrease the length here, still an interesting effect. More interesting than I thought it was going to be, but not what I want. So let's get rid of that ID and go back to whatever the fuck this was. It's kind of a jittery spiderweb, you're right. So if I ever make a Spider-Man game, I'm definitely not going to use that. Because for web swinging, there's a rope component, I believe. Or a cable component or whatever it's called, which is way more useful for that. But maybe for like combat effects or whatever, that could be kind of cool. I'm just going to Google this real quick, see if I can find anything real. Unreal, Niagara, beam emitter, particles, bunch up. No. Okay, the first couple of results don't give anything even near my current issue, so I'm kind of on my own, I'm afraid. Maybe the issue is that the spawn rate is before the beam emitter? No, it's not. It's kind of funny though, because the spawn burst instantaneous doesn't seem to have this issue, unless it only has it once more particles start being added in. Yeah, no, see, this doesn't seem to have that bunching up issue, so it is something to do with the spawn rate, which is really weird. Whatever increased the spawn rate? Okay, so it's got something to do with the timing there, it feels like. So maybe 750. And if I then go into initialize particle and I just make the lifetime shorter or something? 0.5. You know what? That's actually pretty good. That's not half bad. I kinda like that. ChatGPT really sucks for giving answers to do with Unreal Engine. It's really bad with that. Like, if it does anything that it hallucinates a lot about, it is Unreal Engine. It has no idea about like 90% of the things in there. It clearly didn't read through the entire documentation, or it read through the forums and just got a lot of false information from there, because there's a lot of false information on the Unreal forums. Specifically with Unreal 5, it has maybe info on Unreal 4, which has been changed since. I imagine that might be it. Maybe ChatGPT Pro, like with the GPT-4 model, does better. I don't have that though. So yeah, I think this looks kind of cool. So let's... we were doing a thing, I believe, right? We were making the... Oh, it didn't make that asset, apparently. No, that doesn't make a lot of sense. It definitely should have made that asset. But it didn't. Well, we hadn't programmed anything in it yet, so I'll just make a new one. Electric bar. Man, that's misspelled. Electric bar. Yeah, it's updating too quick for Unreal to properly make documentation on anything. Tell me about it. I'm using the gameplay ability system plugin for this project, and there's just no proper documentation on it. The last documentation that exists for it is a few videos from like 2 years ago and a few pages that refer to like Unreal 4.25. So it's a fucking pain in the ass. And even those pages, there's just like 3 pages that walk you through the general idea of it. There's little to no actual actionable information, and I don't like that. Not a sheer collision, I wanted to have a static mesh. So yeah, Unreal's documentation being less than ideal, I'm very familiar with, and I kind of wish that they would get their act together, if I'm being 100% honest. But Unreal or ChatGPT rather, let's separate these by 500. ChatGPT having trouble keeping up with that, and then also not having access to the most up-to-date information at all times, it's a recipe for disaster. Actually, that's a pretty good distance. The only issue is that when I move this thing, it should also increase the length of this. But I think we can do something about that, which I have something like that set up on my sword. I just need to remember what exactly I did to get that. I'm in the wrong folder again. To get that to work. So what I have here is in, I think, the construction script. Do I have it in C++? I have it in C++, don't I? Let's go check out the C++. We have the weapon here. Weapon trail attached to components. Oh, we just scale this up, don't we? Oh no, it's a flow parameter that we set. Oh, we can do that. We can do that. That's not a problem. So we just set up a user parameter here, and that will be a... we can make that a float. That's fine. Distance. And then our spawn beam, no, our beam setup will be a make vector, x, y, I think we had in the x, right? Like that was 500 before, yes. That will be the distance parameter, and by default let's set that to 500. And now in our electric bar, in a construction script, hopefully construction script does actually work for this, but we'll see. Set float parameter. Get local surely there's a way to get the local position, right? Get world location. Yeah, I don't need the world location, that was the issue. I need a local. Can I just get position? I guess we'll just get actor location minus the world location will be the local location. We can just calculate it like that. It's fine. It's fine. I'm not bothered by that at all. I'm kind of bothered by it. I'm sure there's something that I'm just missing. Can we just like copy this name? Yeah, that copies the value. I don't want to copy the value. I want to copy the name. Oh, copy display name. I'm just an idiot. So in theory, that should... I mean, that's the wrong way around. But that's easily fixed through just rotating this, right? So if we just rotate this 180 degrees, this should now, when I pull this direction, yes. We still have that bunching up thing, but I can figure that out later. For now, this works. ChatGPT is outdated. Oh, we already talked about that. Can you connect these effects with the sword attack animation? I mean, I can just like put this on the sword in much the same way that my actual sword like smear frames, like this particle system that is on my sword. I could just add the thing that I just made for that. I won't, but it's entirely possible. Okay, so that said, for now we're going to just put these in. I'll worry about them dealing damage a little bit later. It's also really annoying that this level specifically is like not on a normal what's your face? Ah, yeah, that kind of doesn't work, does it? But that might be because this is set to world space. So if I set this to local space, that might fix that. Oh, it is already set to local space. Maybe if I set it to world space, that will fix that. I mean, it does, kinda. Not really, actually. Huh. That's interesting. I was just not reaching in general, so what it should do is... We do want this thing to be in world space. And in the electric bar, what we want to do is, if we zoom in here, it looks like they're connected, but it seems like they're not. So we just do this plus 15 or something like that, just to make it connect that last little bit. Huh. Okay, for some reason that's not working. I have to wonder why. Yeah, it's yeah, you're right. The vector of the sphere doesn't change when scaling, so that fucks it up. But if the particle system itself also scales with it, that shouldn't matter, in theory. Maybe. Actually, it probably does, now that I think about it. No, you're right, that definitely does. Which is why it had that doubling thing going on. So, this does need to be in local space, and we just can't scale this thing up. I think that is the answer. But still, this isn't extending, and I'm not sure why. I mean, I could just divide that distance by the scale. So if it is scaled up 3 times, it just makes that distance 1/3. But for now, the thing that I'm worried about a little bit more is the fact that for some reason, oh, hold on, it's is the issue that it's going the wrong direction. So I need this to be plus minus 15. No, something is just not adding up, and that might be because I'm using the wrong. Yeah. No, I'm using the right static mesh. And it worked in here, didn't it? Yeah, it works in there. So it just doesn't work in the editor, and that might just have something to do with I wish you could just select components in the viewport itself. It's not going very well so far, is it? No, this is what the construction script is for. And if I use begin play, it doesn't show in viewport and only in game, and that's really, 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 really annoying. And doing this in tick is entirely unnecessary as well. It only runs when you place the component. It should also run when you update it, though, is the thing. But that might be a bool somewhere that I turned off. Let me check that real quick. Unreal construction scripts update on change. Let's see. I must be missing something. You can disable the construction script temporarily by placing a branch in front of it. That's not what I want. It's the exact opposite. Yeah, it should also be called when you're moving. Oh, it might only be called when you're moving the actor and not moving the components, which would be annoying. Yeah, I feel like my logic just isn't working. I think that is the issue, honestly. No, if it doesn't work here, it doesn't work in play mode for sure. But I think I have a better idea. I'll just make a distance variable here, and I'll just use that instead. I think that makes a lot more sense to begin with. So what we'll do is we'll set the distance here, and then we'll set this guy's local offsets to be that as well, and then the distance by default, compile this, the distance by default will set to 500 as well then. For some reason we need to turn this thing around again. I'm not entirely sure why, but sure. Don't tell me that these units don't line up. Because that would be stupid. Like if I set this to 100, 500, 1,000. I think it's because I'm using the add. Hold on, if I set this to 100 now, it tells back. What the hell? Let's just for shits and giggles see what happens if we enter play mode. Because that's not a horrible idea. Just to see what might be different. Probably won't be anything different, but at least we'll be able to... Yeah, it still does the same thing, so... That's definitely fucked up, right? Because that's not 100 units. If I move this thing... like, if I move this thing 100 units, it moves more than that. No, it does not. What? So this is correct. And this is not. Oh. No. No, I'm just an idiot. This will work as soon as I set this back to 0. So now, if I set this to 600, they are connected once again. Okay, cool. Everything works, and in theory, if I scale this up twice now, I mean the entire actor, it will still work properly. That's fantastic. So now we set this to like 500, something like that. And we have a thing. I think the location of the second ball of the root should be changed. Yeah, that was the issue. It was adding a delta to something that was already offset 500 units. It should be set to 000 and then add a delta. Let's also add a box collision to this, which we will set to start here. That's actually a good point. How are we going to do this in a way that makes sense? I suppose we set this to 0, and in the construction script what we do is we set box extend, set box extend, which will be split. The y and the z will just keep at 32, and this will be distance divided by 2. And then the position will be the exact same thing. And now we have a collision box that also, maybe we don't actually want this to be 32 by 32. We probably want this to be a little smaller. Like 25 by 25. And now we also have a collision box that should update somewhat automatically. And it does. Great. We got ourselves a nice little platforming bar obstacle thing, which we can quite easily now just duplicate over a couple of times and set to different positions. We can also now the question is, do we want to make this an animation sequence? Or do we want to like move these things programmatically? I think 3 is fine, actually. We could very much move these things back and forth programmatically, because they are just, I mean, it's very simple movement. and that way we can tweak them individually. Or we could just make this an animation sequence instead. I mean, yeah, I'm going to move them up and down. Like, they're going to move like this, right? The only question is what method I'm going to use for that. And right now, I feel like just making this a level sequence makes the most sense. So let's... my brain is giving up on me, I'm not gonna lie. Laser movement. Laser is with an S, right? Not with the Z. Is that a regional variance thing? Is that a UK versus US kind of thing? The spelling of laser? It feels like it is. We can just drag all of these in here. And for all of them, we want to animate the transform. Make it take 3 seconds to go up and then 3 seconds to go back down. Does that seem fair? I think that seems pretty fair. I'll just copy that over and then go to here and copy this over. No, not right there. God damn it. So they do this now. It's quite simple movement, but it's just to make this whole way a little bit more interesting, right? So then we go to frame 180. Extend the animation altogether to frame 180 as well. And we can just copy over these keyframes and paste them on frame 180. I said copy over these keyframes and paste them on frame 180. Can I not? Hello? If I can't, that's bullshit. Oh no, I can. I just have to do them one at a time and in a very unhelpful way. And I probably should use some curves to make them... Oh, no. Probably should use the animation curves to make them stay up top and down below a little longer. Because right now this is probably going to be quite mechanical. Although them being mechanical might actually not be that bad of a thing. Yeah, I was thinking maybe I should do it with timelines, but I feel like the timing of these things is going to be related to all the other ones in this hallway anyway, so at that point if I change one I have to change the others, but I might use some of these at some other point, but I might use some of these at some other point with some more complex movement, and if I had everything figured out a little bit more clearly, I would have had a better answer here. For now I think that this works. Yeah, no, it's really annoying because if I go into After Effects and I just like bulk select multiple layers and try to copy over those keyframes and then paste them at a later point in the timeline, it just copies over the keyframes and pastes them on their appropriate layers in After Effects. And it's not often that I say After Effects does something better than Unreal or Blender. Quite the opposite, in fact. After Effects could really learn a lot dealing with, like, I don't know if Unreal can do this as well. Yeah, the fact that you can like scale up and down a layer like this, and it scales the timing just that easily. It's fantastic. Blender does it in an even better way. You can just use the scale and it will scale from whatever your cursor position is. The fact that After Effects still does not have that is fucking insane. I could also make something that makes it turn off and on at a certain interval. That's not a bad idea. It's not what I'm gonna go for here, but I'm gonna keep that in mind because that is actually an interesting idea. For now though, this sequence works and does what it needs to do. Now let's just check whether or not it actually works properly in game. So we want to autoplay this and we want to loop this indefinitely. And I still don't know what causes the camera to move at the beginning of the game like that, but at some point I'm sure we'll figure it out. Oh my, okay. It's a little scary to put it right there in case the player doesn't see it. And I think the player can just, yeah, you can just walk under it. It needs to go down much lower. So what we'll do is, let's see, the lowest point here, the location for it should be lower, 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 not that low. A little bit higher, something like that. Then we go to the end, paste that there. This one needs to have that value in the middle. And then this one needs to have that value at the beginning and the end again. So we pull you down a little. And pull you down a little there. Actually, question. Interesting idea. Does this thing have a looping option for like ping ponging? Like where it plays forward ones and then backward ones and then forward ones and then backward ones? Doesn't seem like it has a built-in simple way to do that. Probably wouldn't be that difficult to implement it yourself. Assuming that you can get like an async node out of this which just fires when a sequence is done playing. Worst case scenario, you can actually just make an event at the end which goes into a flip-flop. So, all things considered, that would probably be not that difficult to make, but also I can't be bothered. I mean, the fact that most editors don't use Blender isn't really a good excuse for not taking a fantastic feature out of Blender and implementing it in After Effects. I mean, After Effects, I understand why they're not adding a lot of features to it, because that program barely holds itself together as is. That it's an unstable piece of shit. I'd like to work with it. It's nice to work with, but it's also super fucked in like a lot of ways. Like the fact that it only got a very janky version of multi-thread rendering in like 2018 or something like that is fucking insane. And to this day, its multi-thread rendering is still not good. Like, at all. That's the reason that if you have an After Effects composition inside of a Premiere timeline and you try to render that Premiere timeline, your export times go through the roof because anything it needs to render in After Effects, it does on a single thread. So it also doesn't really support GPU encoding still, and it's insane. What they need to do is they need to just skip CC 2024 and rewrite at least After Effects potentially also maybe Photoshop partly. Because Photoshop doesn't run into as many issues because it's a photo editing software, so it's not as intensive, but it's also really unoptimized and really laggy on hardware that really should be able to run it. Let's see, I think it's easy to add in damaging for this as well. I just need to remind myself how I do damage from a enemy, gameplay ability system, gameplay abilities, play basic attack animation. Because when it overlaps with a thing and it does a thing, what it does is it sets active rotation. Don't need to do that. Apply gameplay effects to targets. Try activate ability class. And apply gameplay effects. Just copy all this. I really should not have to copy that over. That should just be a function that I can call from somewhere. But I don't care. And that's just on begin overlap. So we other actor, get ability system components, and instead we'll just apply effects to self. Can I apply effect to self for player knockback is the question. Or that is set player knockback. How does player knockback work again? The ability. Somewhere around here, right? No? Oh. It's this class. It gets player receive knockback, player character, and it just just uses the forward vector. That's fine. We can use that. So we can set that. Try activate ability by class. And then we can After Effects doesn't even render MP4 natively. It's fucking insane. It's very stupid. I don't like it. I feel like I'm skipping over a step here. What did I do? Set player knockback. Oh, yeah, that might be a bit of an issue. Because the way it does that, I think, is in class defaults. It uses the received knockback from the... Yeah, it uses the knockback from the enemy attribute set. Okay. Let me think for a moment. Because it also uses the damage from the enemy knockback set. So what I'll probably do is just give this guy an ability system component. And just give this... Oh, but that's... No. Maybe? We can get your enemy attributes and we can just give you the same as like the default demon attributes. That's fine. Damage box components? I don't think that is a thing that exists. Now what I just need to do is when it overlaps with this, I need to apply some gameplay effects and all that stuff. It's not that big a deal. It's just been a while since I've done that, and it's like 9 o'clock after a long day of work, so I'm just getting a little tired is all. And if I'm a little tired, I start to make mistakes. So then we apply another gameplay effect to actor, which will be the enemy damage player, enemy to player damage. And here we can still apply gameplay effects to targets. And we'll use the ability system component from there. So that should now damage me, is the idea, and knock me back. And give me... Oh, that's fine, we can just get a reference to self. But this doesn't have an AI controller, so... Oh, fuck. I'm just gonna hope that that doesn't crash the game. Can we live with that? I think we can live with that. That's definitely gonna crash the game. Who wants to bet? Is that gonna crash the game? Oh, the damage event. No. I'm using the gameplay ability system, so I need to do this through gameplay effects because I'm influencing attributes, and you can't do that directly through code. You need to do that through gameplay effect calculations. Yeah, it's probably going to crash unless I build in a check in this function for a null pointer, which I definitely didn't do. But the question is, do I use it? I don't think I use it. Right, we have instigated by not referenced at all here. So at some point I probably used it, but now I don't. Or I build it in thinking that I was going to use it in the future. So it's probably going to be fine. Still, let's save everything, just to be sure. I'm more worried about the fact that that it might just not work because I'm overlooking something. Please hit me. Oh, that works. Does it also damage me? It also damages me. Okay. Did not expect that to just straight up instantly work. I'm very happy with that. I'm not happy with the fact that these things are apparently going through the wall. But that's my own fault, probably. So this... Why is this one offset? We're only animating the Z, so we probably just want to go through here and delete keyframes for the other two. So we can easily move these in the X and the Y without fucking ourselves too much. I just added a keyframe, didn't I? On one of these. I didn't. Okay. So I think now I can move these without it interfering with the animation. So surprisingly that just worked. Quite impressed by that myself there. But that's the upside of the gameplay ability system there. And just having your code in order is just adding a few nodes and everything just straight up works. Okay, so that also works and is fixed. I'll need to like make proper emitters 3D models for those things, of course, and then also have like lines that they move up and down, just art stuff. But for now, this is just gameplay stuff, obviously, and that was quite nice. Okay, this is a asset that I'm going to reuse quite a few times. So actually, what I probably want to do is I want to be able to change the color on this as well. For now, maybe we don't care. Maybe we do. I do. Let's let's set this color to no, default value should be 500, and then we add a linear color here as well, which will be the color. Let's call it the zappy color, because I'm in a silly mood. And the default can be just white. That's fine. And we'll keep the intensity just set to whatever it is. That's fine. Electric bar, construction scripts, at the very end here. We also want to set very start, I'm sorry. We also want to set a color. So we set color parameter zappy color which will promote to a variable. And the default value will be white. So that's 1, 1, 1, and 1. Now we do need to go back in here because these are all going to be white, but that'll be fine. Just set it to that. And okay. Copy this over. Select both of these. Paste, and there we go. And I think we've been live for about 2.5 hours. We pretty much did this one room, which is, as far as gameplay goes, we've got a little bit of a fight here with a reward. We've got a bit of a challenge down here now. It took me quite a long time to just add those two things, but I get distracted easily and we start talking and we were like hanging out and we're having fun and all that kind of stuff, and I run into issues and I'm just generally an idiot and I'm stupid and all that kind of stuff. We know what's going on here, right? We know. So for now, I think we made a little bit of progress, and next time we'll make some more progress. Either on Friday or Saturday, I'll be live again, hopefully finishing up some of the stuff surrounding the character model that I've been working on, and next week we'll be doing some more level design again. So thanks for joining me. Thanks for hanging out, making my life a little bit less miserable doing this on my own, and giving me a reason to get distracted that is not YouTube, because if I get distracted by YouTube, the distractions last like an hour instead of 10 minutes. So altogether, still improve productivity. And I'll be back later. I say the moment an ad gets inserted, because of course.